Hi, I'm Nathaniel Cline, and this is Stephanie Kuzydym from the Northeast Ohio Media Group. We're back from the Classic in the Country 2015 down in Berlin.
We're worn out.
Yeah, and we had to get this video done, kind of explain, the next 25 for Week 8.
Right.
The trip down to Berlin was a big eye-opener for us.
It was.
Got to see a lot of teams that are, in the top 10 in their respective divisions, AP polls, and so we just had to do some reevaluating of the top 25 and some of the teams. So there's going to be a lot of shakeups. There's going to be a lot of changes that you're going to probably see in this post. But we want to kind of talk about that. And
Right.
If we want to start first, we want to start with the top of the list here,
Sure.
Stephanie. There's a new. I don't want to say there's necessarily a new number one, but there's a previous number one
Right.
there, and some shuffleable changes. So tell me about that, please.
Right. So the new number one is actually North Royalton, which people may be shocked. You may think that it should be Solon because they beat number one Mason, who was formerly ranked, or is ranked currently, number one in the state AP poll. So what we realized, though, being down at Classic in the Country, is Mason probably shouldn't have been ranked number one in the state by the AP poll. They aren't the best team in the state, and Solon probably faced the best team, and so did Wadsworth, and they both lost in Lakota West. If Lakota West isn't the best team, it's better than Mason. They're very, very good. So here's the reason why. North Royalton is one. Why? Because they have a loss, and it is to Solon. So you would think, oh, Solon, they're good, win against Mason. They should be above them. We're at the halfway point. We're not just looking at your most recent win and loss. We're looking at your season to this point. So Solon just had a loss to Twinsburg, where they just kind of fell apart, had a bunch of turnovers. They didn't play that well against Lakota West today, even though they're a really good team. That would actually be a really, really good loss. Not that the one to Twinsburg isn't, but that's not a team that's ranked even in the state. Also, Magnificat also has a loss against a team way lower in the poll, which is Hathaway Brown. Again, we saw them against competition this week at Classic in the Country, and they do rank up there with the best in the state, but they're not quite there. So it's just those losses that they do have to other teams in the Cleveland area that aren't necessarily ranked that high. We just felt that the Solon loss for North Royalton didn't pull them down as much as Magnificat's loss to Hathaway Brown and Solon's loss to Twinsburg did. So that's why the 1, 2, and 3 kind of switched up. So, and then your number 4 is actually now Wadsworth. They move up because even though they lost both at Classic, that team is coached very well, and they respond to the coaching very, very well. So we saw really great play from them at Classic. The Lakota West score, yes, is probably a difficult score for some Wadsworth fans still to kind of take in, but they had a lot of turnovers. It's a younger team, good team. Chagrin Falls, you're probably wondering. Mm-hmm. That's the next one.
It is.
They dropped. Why? Like we said, we're looking at your whole package, your whole season now. Chagrin Falls just isn't playing the toughest schedule. So we just couldn't, we couldn't continue to justify the schedule that they have and say, oh, they're a top 5 team.
Yeah, and credit to those teams. I mean, undefeated. If I'm still
Right,
correct,
yeah.
They're still an undefeated team. But just we started looking at some of the strength of these teams as well. Not just their schedules as well, but we also had to look at the strength of these teams, and we just had to say how far could they go. And
Right.
Obviously, I mean, these teams are going to be able to prove in the coming weeks how strong they are.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, we have to kind of base it off of what we're shown here by the teams. So we know that there's a lot of shakeups among the middle of there here. But I'm curious if we can kind of skip ahead. I want to kind of find out. There's also some new teams that's in there, and also some teams that are out. So kind of talk about that.
The teams that dropped out are Rocky River and Richmond Heights. I'll actually let you talk to those two.
Okay. Rocky River, I got a chance to see them against Lyria Catholic this past week. Talking to Coach Dave Murphy from Rocky River, they had their struggling woes. By the end of the week, they got a chance to beat another West Conference team in Bay. But it's just, again, looking at the strength of the team in comparisons to everyone that's either above them or coming up behind them. it was another reason why we just couldn't justify why they were still in the top 25 for this long. So Rocky River is another team out. Richmond Heights, again, they have a great record as well. But again, it was another team that we couldn't justify being in the top 25. Just with, the strength of the team versus other teams in the Northeast Ohio, and those that, they're in our coverage area. So,
right.
But yeah, so those two teams that were out.
And we're trying to fit 25 teams into 25 teams into this top 25 poll, and we cover 162. So at some point we're trying to get really the best 25. So we're picking through a lot of different things. So the two that moved in are Normandy and Brunswick. Normandy is 9-3, Brunswick is 9-4. You're probably looking at their schedule saying, wait a minute, Normandy lost to Brunswick. Yes, they did, by 1. But Brunswick also just lost to Elyria this week. Their other losses are to Canton, Glen Oak, Solon, and North Royalton. Those are 3 of the 4, and then they lost to Elyria. But we just figured their competition that they've been playing has started to become better, that it justified them being in the top 25. They beat Medina when Medina was ranked. They did beat Normandy by 1. So we felt like if we're looking at other competition around the area, it just edged out some of the other competition to be in the top 25. So next 5, that's Brecksville, Cuyahoga Falls, Keystone, Walsh Jesuit, and Villa Angeles St. Joseph. Walsh jumps in there because Lily Piper is supposed to come back this week. She's supposed to play on Wednesday. So.
Yeah, and it was just a hand injury with her that she suffered earlier in the season. And so, just probably like many fans and people that have been following Walsh Jesuit, we're curious to see how far they'll go and, what she's going to look like. Again, she's already committed to University of Akron to play basketball there. So, we just wish her, obviously, a speedy recovery and, wish she's back on the court. So, other than that, other than just leaving, their comments and suggestions and feedback in the comments section, there was also some games that were played on Monday evening as well while we were coming back from Berlin. We'll make sure to make notations of those games as well. But again, from Stephanie Kuzydym, if you don't have anything else, I'm Nathaniel Cline. Thanks again for joining us, and be sure to check back next week at cleveland.com for the top 25, and also just keep checking back for girls more basketball coverage.